Let's work out what's going on with the coalition and net zero by 2050 and go to Canberra now. Catch up with the Nationals leader, David Littleproud. Good to talk to you again, David. Very hard for you as a party to stick with net zero by 2050 when you've got such leading figures in your own party who are saying it's disastrous for the country and has to go.
Oh, well, look, we've made a decision, the vast majority of the party room made a decision to review that policy, and we've got a structured process that I asked Matt Canavan to lead. We're not going to kick this down the road. In fact, I expect in the coming couple of months we should be able to leverage off that independent analysis, economic analysis, that our party room will get to a position. I understand the eagerness of Barnaby Joyce to bring forward a private member's bill. That's his right. But, you know, our party room, I've got to lead the party room. I've got to bring everybody with us. But I don't intend to kick it down the road. I think we'll get that information, and as a group, I think we'll get to a decision sooner rather than later.
But if Matt Canavan is going to recommend anything other than the scrapping of net zero by 2050, well then, you know, I'm going to be the next Teal candidate for Warringah.
Oh, look, there's others in the group. I do understand your point of view because Matt's been, I think, the most consistent and passionate about this. But he's an economist, and I think what we want to do is draw on his expertise, but also others in the room like Ross Cadell and others that have other points of view that may not necessarily agree, and that's a broad church, the National Party is, but sure. I think what we want to do is draw on that experience, and I think that's why, as a group, we want to be able to articulate the why, and I think it's important that if we get to a position that changes our outlook, we have to be honest with the Australian people as to why and what it looks like in moving forward. And to give you an insight, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the National Party left the coalition, because we couldn't get a guarantee after the election about nuclear energy being part of the grid moving forward. We want to be sensible about what our energy grid looks like, because we're the ones that are bearing the burden of this. Even my electorate, I'm seeing communities torn up. I'm seeing families torn apart because of this reckless race to all renewables. And, you know, Zali Steggall can complain and protest against 6 wind turbines, and we complain about hundreds of hectares being torn up just for solar panels, wind turbines and transmission lines just in one small area. And we're climate deniers and all sorts of things. I mean, we've got a responsibility to stand up for our people, and they're hurting and they're bearing the burden. I just say to people that live in a capital city, just come and have a look and come and listen to the lived experience of my members and the people that we represent on what the Labor Party is doing to our communities, but also to your food security.
But let me just jump in there. You know, least of all, this program would underestimate the trauma that regional communities are going through. We've crossed to people right around the country who are fighting renewable energy projects and transmission projects. But if that was saving the planet, people would say that might be a price that they're willing to pay. So my point is that you mentioned Matt Canavan as being passionate and consistent on this. He's also right, isn't he? You know that he's right. You know that Australia cannot get to net zero with the current technology, that we are destroying our economy and our standard of living in trying to get there, and it would have no impact on the global environment if we did, because global emissions continue to increase. So surely on the logic that you must know all that, there's no way known the Nats can back net zero by 2050.
Yeah, and you look at where the world is going on this. It's net zero has become something about trying to achieve the impossible rather than doing what's sensible. And you even see the European Union in the last couple of weeks coming out and saying that they're considering exempting their heavy industries from carbon reductions because they're uncompetitive. We can't change global emissions in any significant way. We're only about 1% of total emissions. But what we should do is have some common sense and not turn our mind away from things like nuclear energy, but also using coal and gas with things like carbon capture storage. If you go back and you want to say that
we're nearly out of time. Sorry to cut you off, David. But you are clearly leaning towards scrapping net zero by 2050.
Yeah, what we want to do is and validate that with some hard economics. Some hard reality from third parties respected third parties, so that we can explain the why. And I think that's what we've got to do. That's our responsibility, to explain the why and what it looks like and what our energy grid should look like. And we were passionate about that, and that's why we fought to get nuclear energy as part of our energy mix before the last election, and we believe it should stay as part, along with coal and gas, with things like carbon capture storage, which is what Japan does.
This is why we're waiting. This is why we're waiting for the review, not really to find out whether or not you're going to scrap the net zero commitment, but to make sure you've got a bit of a policy to put in its place.
Well, we want to be sensible about this, so I don't want to preempt where the rest of the party room will get to. That's my job's to lead it, but I think this is where we want to make sure that we're well equipped to talk to the Australian people with the right tone and the right intent. And I think that's the responsibility that we've got, and we want to lead and show.
Thanks for joining us, David. As ever, I appreciate it.